a girl has a name, and it is Arya Stark. Hey everybody, this episode was incredible. Let's talk about episode 8 of Game of Thrones season 6, No One. At the beginning of this episode, it started off in Bravos. Arya is saved by Lady Crane. One thing that I really loved about the way this episode opened, we saw Lady Crane redoing her scene as Cersei with Joffrey, and it was beautiful. She had a huge grand applause at the end, and when this happened, I was like, oh shit, she's about to get dead. She's about to get dead. And then she doesn't. And I'm a little confused because, I mean, she got this thing she really wanted and it didn't really turn out how I expected. But as she is winding down behind the scenes, she finds Arya bleeding out. She takes Arya in, bandages her up, and tries to get Arya to join their troop. And Arya, of course, declines. That is just not her thing. And I am just so happy that Arya is okay at this point. At this point, she is okay. Now, before I continue talking about everything that went down with Arya in this episode, let's move on to the Quiet Isle and talk about what went down with the Hound. It was incredible. Basically, in the scenes with him, we see him going after the men from the Brotherhood Without Banners, killing them, and then we see him run into Beric Dondarrion and Thoros of Myr. They are actually about to hang the rest of the men responsible and agree to give 2 of the men over to Sandor, and it is great. He wanted to chop them up to bits, but they would not allow it, so he killed them the way they would allow. And then they ask him to join them, and it is very interesting. He does not give an answer yet. We don't know. Is he going to join them? I don't know. I don't know. I think it would be quite interesting if he did, and if he headed north with them and started raising hell and stuff. Yeah, I think it would be good. I'd like to see many more scenes between Sandor, Thoros of Myr, and Beric Dondarrion. They just play off each other so well, and it's always pretty humorous. Now, let's jump on over to Meereen and talk about what went down over there. A lot went down, and it is leading up to so many amazing things. First off, we see a high priestess. She seems to be telling the story of Daenerys and what she's going to do for them, and just spreading Kinvara's message, and we see a scene where Varys and Tyrion are talking about their decision to get Kinvara involved and all this, and then Varys goes off on a secret expedition. I'm not quite sure exactly what he is up to, but I'm very interested to find out. Right after this, though, we see some really great scenes between Tyrion, Missandei, and Grey Worm. He is trying to loosen them up, get them drinking, and they start joking around, and they start getting pretty loose, and I'm like, okay, he's getting them chill, and this means something bad is about to happen. And it does. It does. The Masters show up with ships and start laying siege to Meereen, and it is very bad. And I'm thinking, well, Daenerys isn't there, so what the hell are they gonna do? Are they gonna release the rest of her dragons on them, or what? But then I am pleasantly surprised because Daenerys shows up on Drogon, and she looks all kinds of pissed. Like, she's looking at them all like, what the hell went down while I was away? That is the look she was giving them. She is going to lose it on Tyrion, I think, once she figures out what he agreed to and how badly it backfired. It's bad. It's very bad. And I cannot wait to see what happens next. There are going to be so many wars that happen in the last 2 episodes of this season, and it's going to be great. Alright, so let's jump on over to King's Landing and talk about all the craziness that went down over there. Whoa. Whoa. The first thing we see is Cersei just chilling in the Red Keep, and Qyburn arrives and reports that the Faith Militant have arrived, and yeah, it's not good. So Cersei goes and approaches them, and they demand that she accompany them to meet with the High Sparrow, and yeah, she's not having it. She is not having it. Lancel asks Cersei if she's going to come peacefully or if there will be violence, and she tells him that she chooses violence. And right after that, one of the Faith Militant attacks the mountain, and the mountain legit just, oh, he demolishes him. That's pretty much the best word for it. Yeah. It wasn't quite as bad as what went down with Oberyn, but yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, and I can't wait to see what happens next with him. I cannot wait to see what happens next with him. The last thing that goes down over there in this episode was pretty shocking, and it doesn't bode well for all of us that were hoping for the whole Clegane Bowl showdown, because She is summoned to the throne room, and yeah. Tommen announces that the trial for Cersei and Loras has been set, and trial by combat is now banned. I don't have many words on that, but I am not thrilled about this. Okay, so let's jump on over to Riverrun and talk about all of the what the hell that happened over there. Seriously, I was watching it and I just couldn't stop saying, what the hell? What the hell? The Blackfish is awesome. The first thing that we see is Brienne and Podrick arriving at Riverrun. She demands a meeting with Jaime, and it is just a great scene. One thing that I want to talk about before I talk about that scene is we saw just the most comical reunion between Bronn and Podrick. It was so great. Bronn comes up behind Podrick, puts him in a headlock, and Podrick is freaking out, of course, because he thinks he's about to be killed. But then Bronn just starts hassling him and messing with him and tells him that he hasn't been being trained well and kind of starts training him how to fight dirty, Bronn style. So I just really love that we got that scene. It was awesome. I love how he called, yes, excuse my language, I gotta say it, but Bronn bringing up the magic cock. Yep, he brought it up. He called it out, and I could not, well, it's Bronn. We know he's going to bring up stuff like that. But the one thing that just I could not stop laughing over was him asking Pod if he had hooked up with Brienne, and started talking about how Brienne has the hots for Jaime and everyone has the hots for Jaime, and how he didn't feel threatened when he was running about with Tyrion. It's just great. I love that we're getting all these reunions. Now, the reunion between Brienne and Jaime was really great. The only time that I can tolerate Jaime and sometimes kind of like him a little bit is when he is around Brienne. She just brings something out in him, and we see a bit of goodness in him. And he doesn't want to kill her. He won't even take his sword back from her. There is a connection between them. They've been through so much, and I just really love the scenes we got between them in this episode. They come to an agreement that if she can get the Blackfish to agree to surrender Riverrun by nightfall, that Jaime and the Freys will allow the Blackfish and his army to head north to help Sansa unharmed. Well, the Blackfish, he is still not having it, even though he is made to believe that the letter that Brienne hands over to him is actually from Sansa. He still doesn't want to surrender Riverrun. He tells her that he's fighting for his home, and he wants to keep his home. So he then tries to get Brienne and them to leave. The next thing that we see is Jaime meeting with Lord Edmure. We then learn that Edmure has a son with his Frey wife, and Jaime tells him that he will not harm his wife or son if he aids him. So Lord Edmure is set free, and he is allowed into Riverrun. The Blackfish's army turns on him because they tell him he is not the Lord of Riverrun, and Edmure gets in there and tells them all to surrender and give over the Blackfish. Yeah, I totally saw that coming. The Blackfish then helps Brienne and Podrick escape and then goes and battles to the death. And we all knew that was going to happen. I thought we were going to actually see him die, but maybe it was a little better that we didn't actually see him die. I really love that he pointed out that he wasn't going to run away like he did with the Red Wedding. I just love that. I admire him, and it's sad that we saw him go. But yeah, now the old generation is pretty much completely gone, and now the younger generation is in charge. The one thing that I think I enjoyed the most that went down over in Riverrun in this episode was the ending scene between Jaime and Brienne. And basically, Jaime spots Brienne and Pod rowing away, and they wave goodbye to each other, and it's just really great. I don't know if they will ever see each other again. They didn't think they were even going to see each other this time, but I really hope they don't ever have to go and fight against each other. That would just suck. That would really suck. Alright, so let's jump on over back to Bravos and talk about everything else that went down with Arya. I could not believe all that went down, but it was more than I imagined and could have hoped for. Arya goes up against the Waif one last time. The Waif shows up at Lady Crane's house, kills her in a very disturbing manner. I mean, the way Arya found her body, just, whew, it was, yeah, it was bad. And the next thing we see, Arya jumps out the window, and there's this huge long chase between Arya and the waif. At one point, I thought Arya might actually die, but then she led the waif into that little area where she had hidden Needle, and right when the waif comes in, she starts to tell Arya that she can choose how she wants to die, on her knees or on her feet, and then wielding Needle, Arya extinguishes the light, and we know what happened next. And one thing that I love so much about this entire thing was that Arya used her new Daredevil senses. Yes, I am calling them that because she can fight in the dark now. Can the waif? No. Yeah, Arya can fight in the dark and she's a badass and she killed the waif. And I love what she did to the waif. She took the waif's face and put it in the Hall of Faces for Jaqen to find. And when Jaqen finds the waif's face, I kind of expected the way he was going to react, and I am so happy with how Arya reacted. It was great. He then said to Arya, a girl has become no one, and she tells him that her name is Arya Stark. She reclaims her name. She is Arya Stark, and she tells him she's going home. Hell yes. Yes. Finally. I hope she makes it there in time before there's nothing left. I hope she does, and I hope we just get the most epic Stark reunion. But, as I've said before, it's Game of Thrones. A lot of people die all the time, especially Starks. Sadly. Honestly, what I'd really love to see on her journey back to Winterfell is her finding Nymeria. That would be so great. I think she should get Nymeria back. That would just be wonderful, because Nymeria and Ghost are the only two direwolves left in the Stark family. Yeah. I absolutely love this episode. It is definitely one of my favorites this season, and I cannot wait for the Battle of the Bastards next week. I cannot wait. Please let Ramsay get dead in this episode, and let it be satisfying. I would really like to hear all of your ideas on how you all think Ramsay should be killed. Comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.